Hello everyone and welcome to the channel. I'm Emmanuel, I'm an airline pilot, and with me we have Nick from Black Square, who also happens to be a pilot. Hi Nick.
Hello, thank you very much for having me this evening.
You're welcome, and you brought something along, which is not just something, but actually probably one of the coolest looking aircraft that I've seen in a very, very long time, and that's none other than the Starship. So, we did sit together before recording this video, and we actually recorded another one going into some explanations and, doing all the lovely preview stuff. And we ultimately figured that the best way to show this aircraft is to show it off in the operational environment and to show it off to you guys in exactly the way how two pilots would fly that airplane. So, are you up for that, Nick?
Absolutely, I'm looking forward to it.
Sounds wonderful, so let's get right into it. We are standing here in Düsseldorf Airport, and the sun is just about to set. We do have one more mission of the day left after having the airplane stored here for a couple hours while we've been over there in that lovely little GA terminal. But I do think we gotta get it up and ready again. So, let's go ahead and connect the pitot covers over here. Disconnect, of course. Let's get the gear pins. Let's also get our engine covers, and last but not least, the chocks and the pins from the main gear. Now, did I just take the chocks out without the park and brake set? Okay, it's not rolling. That's the important thing. So, let's get straight into it. And here we are. So, Starship. Beautiful cabin and a quiet cabin. I mean, just look at those wings. We're just gonna do a quick check over here, making sure that everything is in shape for our guests to arrive. And, well, I do think that is looking pretty good, pretty tidy. And then, let's get to the very front. So, this is just an absolutely beautiful cockpit, isn't it? Let's take a seat over here. I did already put the sunshade down because the sun is slowly going down. And then I'd say we better get going because our guests do want to get to their destination. So let's get the tablet out. Let's go ahead and have a look into the payload page. We do have 4 passengers on this. Our fuel load is still okay for this flight with an endurance of 3.4 hours. So with all of that out of the way, let's go ahead and do the pre-flight checklist, please, Nick.
All right, I think we'll be doing a battery start after that again so we can get going quickly without the GPU.
I mean,
All right.
you know Germany, you order these things, they put something here which is not compatible with the airplane, then they have to run off to find another one, so let's keep it on the battery.
Huh. Perfect. All right, parking brake is set.
That's set.
Good. Control locks removed.
Removed.
Landing gear control down.
Down.
All right, battery on.
On.
And check the trims.
Alright, trims are neutral.
All right, and fuel quantity check.
That's 2,000 pounds on board.
And the oxygen pressure is 850, which is topped off.
1850 is checked.
All right, and we'll shut the door and actually thing. So let's get that door closed up and get that enunciator light out.
Absolutely.
And we can actually look at the latching indicators around it, make sure they all turn green.
Alright,
Yep,
that's a
looks
very
good.
good point.
I had
So, over here,
I had a flaky sensor the other night that
Oh, really?
came on when I was on short final.
Oh, lovely. Always the best timing, isn't it?
Yes, and that's, I'm not joking. That is Black Square, failure system. It's going to happen at an inopportune time, but it's likely going to be something small, just enough to distract you.
Oh yeah, and that's exactly how you end up in the maintenance then.
All right, we got the wheel chocks removed. Those are in the back. Pitot-static covers are removed.
Yep.
Engine covers removed. The gear pins are right there. We can see them from the pilot seat. We know they're out.
Checked.
The emergency exit secured in the back, and the door is closed, latched, and the annunciator light is out. All
That's
right.
checked.
Before starting engine checklist, when you're ready.
Go ahead.
All right, circuit breakers all in.
So, checked on the left side,
Good
down
down
on the
there.
center, and I'm just going to check your side over here. And
Yeah.
that's all
And
looking
looks
good.
like everything's good on my side.
Checked.
All right, audio panels and microphone switches in the norm position.
So, I suppose we can just about turn the volumes down a little bit over here, and apart from that, everything is in the norm position.
And static source is also norm and not isolated.
Checked.
Oxygen supply. Gonna pull that
On.
lever out. Good. Check the mask.
So left side looking good, and right side looking good.
Good on my side. All right. Icing protection switches are all off.
Are all off.
Landing gear down. Anti-skid switch on.
On.
Center reversionary panel as required. Looks like everything is
Set.
centered there. Standby instruments on. So this is where we're doing that check. Make sure the battery's working.
Yeah. Actually, the battery should be off at this point, shouldn't it?
Yes. Turn off the battery.
Must
Yeah,
have
and then we'll see
forgotten
the
that earlier.
standby battery.
Here
Perfect.
we go.
Okay.
Alright, standby battery.
Yep, we got the
and that's
annunciator
looking good.
illuminated. Power levers are to the flight idle position. And propellers full forward.
Flight idle and full forward.
And condition is cut off.
Cut off.
Bleed air valves are off.
Off.
Temperature mode off.
Off.
Okay, and then now we turn the battery back on, check the voltages.
Alright.
So we're looking for center bus and triple fed bus. We got 22 and 23 volt minimums. They should be
25.9 on the center and 25.2 on the triple fat.
good. So diodes are working and no shorts. ICAS on.
On.
All right, we'll wait for that to come up. Firewall push buttons for the valves. Lift the covers. There's one. There's the other one.
And pushed.
So now, good. We'll see if they close. Closed. Okay. And the lights are, pressure lights are on. So now turn on the standby pumps.
Checked. And standby pumps are on.
And the lights should stay on. And now open the valves. And then the lights should go out.
That is checked.
There's one. There's the other one. Perfect. Okay. Standby pumps now go off.
Standby pumps off.
And now we check the fuel transfer. And we're looking for the ICAS message. And the cross-side light goes out. That means that pump is energized. Other side. Light goes out. And there's the ICAS message. Perfect.
Wonderful.
All right. Transfer flow off. We have the avionic airfail message on the ICAS.
Yes, we do.
And alternate avionics blower on. And that should go out, and we get the green avionics blower on. Good.
So
And we can
that's
turn the.
all checked.
Actually, it's pretty warm. What is it? It's 28 degrees
28,
centigrade.
yeah.
That doesn't matter. You can leave it on or off. And then we already looked at the fuel quantity. Just make sure it's good again. We're empty in the aft tanks, I think, right?
Yes, we are. 2,000
Alright.
total. That's perfectly fine for the flight.
And then lights as required.
Alright, so gonna turn the signs on over here, and the nav lights, and the light master as well. Perfect, so we are just gonna keep it like that for the time being. Alright, so let's just do a very quick check over here, and everything's looking good. Wonderful. Alright, so before start checklist on the battery, please.
Alrighty. We're ready to start. We're going to do the right engine and ignition, the switch in the up position.
That's looking good. So everything good down here. Beacon is on. Alright, so right engine start.
All right. NG's coming up. And then we're watching to make sure, we didn't leave those covers in.
Oh,
We're waiting
yes.
for that full 18% on the NG. Prop is spinning. Tells us we didn't leave the covers on, holds prop down. In theory, it's possible, even with the gas generator running up, to hold that prop and just have it stay still. Because it's a free turbine.
Yeah.
That the inside will be spinning the NG and you can hold on to the prop.
Alright,
Good.
M1 stabilized, and the fuel is on. We do have the ignition.
715. Good. And we're accelerating up to 50%.
50. Ignition off and reaching
Oil pressure,
65.
temperature is coming up. Looks good.
That's
So now
checked.
we can turn on that right side generator, get that battery charging.
Alright.
Good. And just check the battery is charging.
Thank you for that.
Good.
Minus 14, looking
All right.
good. Wonderful.
Yeah, it looks like we've stabilized. You got it in the run position. Time for the left engine.
All right. So left engine start. So NG is increasing. Props are turning. We do have oil pressure. And it looks like NG is about to stabilize over here. Let's bring on the fuel.
A little hotter on that side.
Yeah.
You know, it could just be the airflow.
I suppose. We do have a little bit of a tailwind as well.
All right, and we're up in the green
65.
now, so we can turn off the starter, generator.
That's looking good. They do have an
takes
even
the load.
distribution.
Gentie is open.
Open. And messages are checked.
Yep, and then yeah, get that back in the norm position, and then check the voltages on both sides. Make sure they're the same as the center bus.
That's all looking good.
Yep, there you go. Good. Alrighty.
Right.
Done with that. Ready to
Before
move
taxi
on.
checklist, please.
For taxi is pilot and co-pilot avionics on.
On.
Standby indicators are on. Are they?
They're on.
Yes. Bleed air valves to both.
Both.
And the temperature mode to auto.
Auto.
Yep, looks like all the fans and temperatures are good from our last flight.
Yeah.
Lights as required.
Alright, so we've got the NAS, we got the strobes, and that's it for the time being.
And we don't need anything on the cabin or anything. It's
No.
fine.
I mean, they got their
no
own switches
smoking.
back there, so that's fine.
No
Right.
smoking, seatbelt lights both on.
Yep, both on.
Pilot and co-pilot instruments are now alive. Everything looks good. I don't see any red flags.
That's checked.
And the AHARS is done aligning. Don't see the messages anymore. Forward wing is already retracted. CDU date and time verified.
Alright, so we got the 12th of June 25 and 1938. That looks correct. Database is up to date. Position is okay, and all data okay.
Great. And then just make sure the radar is off before we point it in anybody's direction.
Very good point. So radar's on standby.
Great. All right. So now we are ready to taxi. Are we going to do? You want to do the full before takeoff here, or do you want to find a run-up area?
I think I'll start doing stuff here, and then we'll get there later. So let's just start with the basic setup over here. So flight plan, we're going from Echo Delta Lima. Gonna accept that. Now let's go ahead and bring up our charts. We are gonna depart Düsseldorf on the Mabel for Tango departure over here. I do like the night version of that, by the way. Here we go. Alright, so that's gonna be straight out to 1 DME from Düsseldorf. That's on 1515. Tune that on F2. And then it's gonna be right hand turn, Nürburgring radial 001 outbound, 16.2. And that's until 60 me. Thereafter it's going to be RNAV. So what we'll do down here is we got Nürburgring active over here. That's with the course at 001, and then we'll also go for Düsseldorf. And that's going to be 230 on the runway heading. I'll give you a full briefing in a few moments, just doing the setup real quick while talking over it. Well, we don't need to set the heading block yet, we'll need that later on. Alright, cool. So then let's go ahead and continue programming our flight plan. So the first on-off point we need is going to be aircom up here.
And don't forget you can use your keyboard if you want to make that easier on yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. Alright. So
I know you're a bit of a purist, but...
I want to show the people that we can, you know, type something in quickly here, but you're absolutely
yeah,
right.
you're
Let's click on here.
quite fast at doing that.
So that's Lusix in here. Then we have Mavel up next. So that's Mavel, and now going on to the en route chart from Mavel, we are going to proceed towards Domac. like this, and the star, I can tell you that much, is going to lead us via Hotel Mike Mike. And then eventually to our destination, Echo Delta Delta Golf. Alright, and flight plan. We're not going to enter the arrival just yet. We'll see what we're going to get once we're airborne. Apart from that, 5,000 is the initial climb. So let's turn over to millibars over here and have a quick look at the weather. 1017.
And let's review that plan on the MFD map when you have a chance.
Very good point.
I just like to look for, because, you enter those waypoints quickly. You want to make sure that it didn't sneak in one that's in another country on you.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. But I think
yeah, it looks good.
Looking quite good. Alright, cool. So, one more thing that we can do is on system controls, select course, and what are we going to need? We can type this over here, can't we? So, 357.
Yeah, it's very convenient, actually, doing it that way, especially for holds.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Okay, cool. So that's set. Our flight instruments are set. Then, what's that? QNH 3002. Let's put that in here. And then you can have that.
This time, if you wanted to, I'd love to see the depiction of the VORs on the ND this time using the map display mode.
Sure
thing. That, it should look almost just like your chart. We should be able to see that line that we're going to converge on the way out. That's on the ND display. Because that'll just show the selected course. On the ND in map mode, you press the arc map button twice. And then once we have, we can see one of them's in there already, whatever you put in as nav2.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's Düsseldorf. Nürnberg is out of range on the ground usually. I suppose otherwise you'd see that over here as well, would you?
Yeah, I mean, as soon as we get off the ground, we'll probably see it come in.
Yeah. I mean, this is more or less our track already, so that's pretty good. It gets the job done, let's put it that way. Alright, apart from that, we're gonna cruise in only 15,000, so we basically don't need any altitude dialed in up here. Landing field elevation is some 200, so let's dial in 700. And I think that's pretty much all that we can do for the setup, is it? Yep.
Yeah, looks good to me.
Want to listen to
last time you wanted to clear that message on the CDU.
Oh yeah, very good point. So here we go, everything clear. Wonderful. Alright, so let's go ahead and talk about the takeoff briefing real quick, then we have that out of the way. At the same time, let me just tune in guard over here. Honeycomb 2. Alright, so for a quick takeoff briefing, we're departing Düsseldorf on the runway 23 left with a Mayville for Tango departure. In terms of our speeds, we rotate at 108, climb out with 8 degrees pitch. We do have a speed limit of 190, which we probably are not going to exceed anyway. At 1 UME from Düsseldorf, which is tuned on VOR number 2, we're going to make a right-hand turn to join the radial 001 outbound Nürnberg until 6 UME from Düsseldorf, and thereafter we're going to continue RNAV towards Aircom, Lusix, Mayville, and that's our route. The initial climb is 5,000. We contact departure on 121.355 when advised by when passing 2,000 actually, and the MSA is 2,400 within German territory only. In case of engine failure, I would nonetheless proceed straight ahead. We might enter some Dutch territory, but we know the Netherlands, there basically isn't any hills over there, so 3,000 feet is going to keep us safe in any case. Well, 5,000 is the initial climb, and that's pretty much it. Do you have questions or suggestions?
That all sounds good to me.
Wonderful. In that case, let's go ahead and... Well, I was about to say please call for taxi clearance, but I suppose we don't have ATC available over here, so let me go ahead and stow your sun visor there, and then we can get straight up. So, taxi light is coming on. Well, let me just put the engines in the beta down here so that we don't shoot away. I'm afraid there is no way to get rid of these ground guys, so I feel really sorry for what's about to happen. Let's just put it down as an accident at work. I just really love the way the Starship taxis. I mean,
It feels very assertive with all that weight on the nose gear, doesn't it?
yeah, absolutely. And you can control it so nicely once you get the grips of the beta range and how to handle it properly, with the emphasis on the word range. You can just...
It's very subtle as well. You know, the small movements that you need to make in the beta range to basically control your entire speed on the ground.
Yeah, absolutely. It just feels like a wonderful airplane to maneuver. And you've captured that very, very well, Nick. Really have to say that.
Thank you. Yeah, this has by far been my favorite airplane to fly that I've made, which, you know, is saying something. I usually enjoy them quite a bit, but this one is just a real pilot's airplane. It's been so much fun to fly for the few hours that I get to actually enjoy it when it's done.
Yeah, I can only imagine that. I mean, people might think that, you know, Starship doesn't look like your average King Air, so is it actually difficult to fly? I would probably say, well, not really. I've flown it for maybe 10, 15 hours, something like. I didn't keep the tracks exactly before recording this video, but I would say that it actually flies pretty forgiving.
It is, yeah. I would say, you know, the landing takes a little bit to master. You know, you can kind of find your way down pretty conventionally, but if you really want to master that landing, get a soft touchdown, especially where you're trying to hit the runway, because, you know, it does need, the landing distance isn't so bad, unlike the takeoff distance, but you still, you know, you don't want to float halfway down the runway.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the tricky bit, is really nailing that approach speed. You know, because it is such an efficient airplane, it does just want to float.
Yeah, absolutely. And it has huge wings. The ground effect must really be immense over here.
Yeah, I think it's a 54-foot wingspan. But really, it's, you know, that thick delta wing. I mean, you look at it and you can see where they fit all the fuel in there. You know, the wing root is just enormous compared to your typical, you know, King Air.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, those 1,600-mile range, they gotta come from somewhere, do they?
Yes, yeah.
But yeah, I'll be quite frank, I don't have to fly maximum range. It does look a little cramped after all. But I suppose that just comes with the fact it's not an A330.
Of course, me coming from the other end of the spectrum, I'm sitting in the Starship's cockpit in real life and thinking, wow, look at how roomy this is. You know, I'm not rubbing shoulders with the person next to me. You know, I could stretch up a hammock and go to sleep in here. Yeah.
Well, in the A330, you can just put yourself a little mattress behind the pilot seats and lay down fully stretched out.
The other side, back in the cabin, though, I will say that it is the cabin dimensions are a bit better than a King Air. There is a little bit more room to stand up and a little bit more elbow room.
Yeah.
And, you know, of course, the Starship has a round, you know, circular profile to the cabin. You know, much more like a corporate jet than your typical, you know, turboprop corporate aircraft.
And it's a lot more silent as well, isn't it, with those pusher engines?
Oh, yes. Yeah, it's very quiet for you inside and very loud for everybody outside.
Well, that's the right configuration. All right,
yes,
then.
Certainly.
So, let's go for the before takeoff items, and we'll do the items and then the abbreviated checklist if that's fine with you, because otherwise ATC is going to haunt us when we're standing here for too long.
Yes, sure. We can go through the test push buttons on the bottom left panel very quickly, right across the top row.
So,
yep, left is good.
Left, right.
Right's good.
Fire left.
Left good.
Fire right.
Good. Flap monitor. Left is good.
Left side is good. Right side is good.
Right is good. Battery monitor. Yep. Charge rate.
Looking good. So, aux battery test. Might take a little while.
Yep, and that'll come back to us in a minute.
Yeah. So, fuel low
the
warning.
ICAS message is there.
Good. Stall warning. Now that's the interesting one. AOA is rising. Stick shaker is working. Perfect.
Good. And we got the tone.
Wonderful.
Then we need the VMO.
We did this one. Okay. Landing gear is
Go
good.
again.
Annunciators are working. And I've just done that again. That's fine. Right, so up to 23 psi.
Make sure you got your feet on the brakes there, or parking brake on.
Yeah. Brake is set. Thank you very much.
All right, 23 psi. So then we can go. Let's see where we are.
So I'll just do it from top
Oh
to
yes,
bottom. of the
pressurization
panel
check.
here. So pressurization check is good.
That's good.
So then bleed air
Yep,
is
got
good.
the 3 lights.
So surface DS
Now-
standby.
Yes, got the icing message, and then it's going to go and yep, we see the pressure drop on the indicators. So now it's inflating the boots.
That's checked. And just waiting for it to finish that. Can we actually do the test?
There it goes.
Perfect. So
Um,
then we'll
well,
just
you know,
do the
in
main system.
in theory, you push the button and it's doing, you know, it is inflating them. I think what you're checking with the auto sequence switch is to make sure that the computer knows, you know, do the front and then the back, and it really does each zone separately.
Okay. So just waiting for the outer boots, and that's looking good. So that's looking very good. So that's everything down here,
Alright.
isn't it?
Yep, that's the test panel down there. So
Alright.
then we got inertial separators. Go to standby, and then on. Good.
Yeah.
Okay, and then we'll test the heated surfaces.
Looking for the increase in the amps and the loads. And that's actually looking good everywhere, so let's just turn those back off again. So,
Okay, and then we should have both the inertial separators on. Good.
Yeah,
All right, back to
that's
main
looking good.
for the actuators and off. Ground ice detector. That's just an
It's
ICAS
up.
message. Yep, you're doing the sequence.
yeah,
Okay, check the forward wing, see if it's really inflating.
yeah, that's
Yeah,
looking good.
Yep.
And perhaps we
And
can
then
just
we
check
can-
the aft wing as well. Might need a little while out here. Yeah, there we go.
There it goes. All right.
Very good.
And inertial separators should now be off on
Which
the
is
ICAS.
checked.
Good.
All right, so-
de-icing, power levers to idle. The pressurization we've already got set.
Yeah, that's checked.
Okay. Radar altimeter check.
Looking good.
Good. Get the tone. Autopilot check. Yep. Sync it up.
Autopilot's on.
Mhm.
Heading mode.
We got
to
heading
the
mode,
left,
heading mode and roll.
and to the right.
And the disconnect.
Yeah. Awesome.
Okay.
All right, cool.
We're gonna skip the trims again for the sake of time.
Yeah, we will.
Forward
Alright.
wing as desired.
And I think on this one we're actually going to keep it retracted. We do have like 2,000 meters runway available. So-
Flight controls free and correct.
It's looking good.
All right, we're gonna do the governor and feathering check real quick.
Yeah.
Do the low pitch test right here.
Alright, yeah, that's where it starts. Always keep messing those up.
All right, we got that.
that's
So then
looking
now,
good.
yep, hold it up, advance.
I think I should still have the
Yep, good.
props on
Propeller levers
should
forward.
I?
Yep, up to 1600, then release, and then 1700.
Alright, 16, release,
Up to 17.
17.
Okay, so now back to flight idle, auto ignition's on. And they should be on, which they are. Now advance through 17%, and the lights should go out.
They do.
Perfect. Back to flight idle, auto ignition off, auto feather test on.
Yep.
All right, so now up to low pitch, good, and then up to 17% or above, good.
Yep.
Bring back one, slow. Cross side goes out, armed, into feather. Back up.
Good. And the
Other
other
side.
one.
Cross side goes out, armed, feather, and then I bring them both back. Make sure they disarm on the way down. Good.
Very
and
good.
then, manual feather check on both sides. Good, you got the auto feather back to arm.
Yep. So here we go. Feathering left. Looks good. Feathering right. Looks good.
Perfection. All right, before takeoff abbreviated, you ready?
Go ahead.
All right, enunciators, we can push
Checked.
the button, test and consider. Surface de-ice as required. We got the
Checked off.
pressurization set. Rate knob is at the 10 o'clock position. Altitude control is fully counterclockwise. Avionics set and check. You can put the runway heading in there.
Yeah, good point. Here we go, 230.
All right, we already did the autopilot check. Trim set for takeoff.
And the trims are set. I kind of prefer to keep the roll trim in the center position, to be honest.
I
instead of takeoff
agree.
position.
I'm not sure exactly what the dynamic is that caused them to want that like that. But anyway,
Yeah. Okay.
I think centered is good. Flight controls free and correct. Auto feather is armed. Standby altimeter set.
Set.
Yep. And flight instruments and displays check. Everything looks good in the green. We're ready to go.
Yellow.
All right. Final items. Stall warning heat on. Pitot-static heats on.
On.
Vent cable heats on. Transponder on. ICAS consider. No messages. External lights as required. Get those landing lights on.
Yep. And we'll get the
And
anti-collision
cockpit,
on full right.
Yep. Cockpit dim for takeoff.
That's done.
Auto ignition we can leave off.
Checked.
Generator loads check. We got 60 roughly paralleled. Check the battery's not charging anymore. Want to make sure, if it still is, if you go to full power, you can you can overheat the battery. Looks good. All right, ready for takeoff.
All right, so we do just have one message down here. That's the VLF. Yeah, I'll just update that once again. Cool. All right, so I'll switch over to VOR number 1 over here. We do have the DME down here on the indicator, and I think that's all we need. So quick glance outside, clear on the approach, and clear on the left side. Sun is about to set, so it looks like we're going to have an absolutely awesome timing here.
Yeah.
So brake is released.
That is what us pilots live for, isn't it? Taking off into the beautiful sunset.
Absolutely. Every time you got to get up at 2 a.m. or something. When you take off, you get out of the clouds, you see the sun. That's worth it every time. Every single time. Okay, are you ready to go?
I'm ready to go. Yeah, you got your toes on the brakes, and 100% torque, 850 ITT is the limit.
Roger that. We'll go a little bit lower on the torque, like 95 or so, just in order to avoid over-torquing it. Runway's more than long enough.
Yeah, I shoot for about 95% with the brakes held, and then that way when the increase your speed, the torque bloom kicks in, you don't go over 100.
Right. Take off. Disregard P2 overheat. That's going to solve itself. Knots.
This feels so realistic. I'm finding myself doing an instrument scan at the same time.
And rotate.
Watching it roll. Looks good. All right, gear up.
Positive right.
Forward wing is retracted, accelerating through 130 knots.
So let's keep that center line. I will fly manually a little bit because it just feels so incredibly nice doing so. Okay, so setting climb power. 1 DME. Let's start the right-hand turn. And climb power is set. So yaw damper on, prop sync on.
If you want to turn up the glare shield lighting, this is usually when I appreciate it. Right around sunset.
Yeah. Not that one. That one is it.
There you go.
Oh yeah, you really start seeing that blue come into view there. So speed limit 190.
It is. I think it's a little less pronounced in 2024 for some reason.
Yeah, they generally have the lights a lot weaker in that simulator, which is nice to a certain extent, but I guess they still have to find the sweet spot.
Well, and you know, the sweet spot's up to me too, because I've had to readjust basically all lighting for 2024. It is nonsensically different from 2020 in terms of the cone angles and the distances, the brightnesses. You know, it's like I saw they changed the units too, but it still requires some fine tuning. I think it's more about the exposure compensation that makes it feel like more or less.
Yeah, probably. Alright then, set standard.
Still very weird to an American pilot. Alright, you have the yaw damper on. We got the climb power set. You're at 89%, 1600. And we're far away from max ITT. Propeller sync on.
And that's on.
And engine displays, everything is good in the green.
Yeah.
Pressurization is holding, the differentials going up.
Yep.
And lights as required.
That's all checked.
Great. We got 7 knots of wind, crosswind, that's it.
Yeah, lovely. Alright, we're reaching 60 meters off. Let's change over to FMS navigation. So, inbound to Airbus. I just love these avionics. So simple. It needs a little bit to get used to them, but once you are, it's just a wonderful airplane to fly. Now let's get that autopilot on.
I think those
profile, nav, and AP. Alright.
There you go. Yeah, the avionics, this is not nostalgia speaking. After sitting in the real thing, the lines drawn on the CRT versus a backlit LCD is absolutely night and day. And I know you used to fly the NG, so you could probably speak to that too.
Yeah, I mean, the NGs that we flew did have the LCDs actually, so I didn't actually ever get to fly CRTs, but from what I've heard, it's, as you say, the difference between night and day.
Yeah, I mean, the difference really, like if you're familiar with, an LCD, a backlit LCD versus an OLED TV, it's that kind of difference, because the black, there's no backlight. The black is black.
Yeah.
So it's infinite contrast between the lines and the background. And the other thing that's kind of neat is that, you can see this on the cameras with the airplane, is that all of the symbols and everything on the screen are not drawn with a scan line like a television. They're all drawn individually. So there's no rolling shutter effect. You can see that things, it draws each of those lines one by one, I'm going to say. In real life, you can see all the imperfections in that, which is kind of cute.
Yeah, absolutely.
How it draws and everything. But it's also just it's a softer feeling display. You know, there's no like sharp edges really.
Mm-hmm.
It's crystal clear at the same time. It's hard to describe without really getting your eyes on it.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I mean, if you're born at a time where you absolutely understand this keyboard here straight away, then you probably know exactly what we're talking about here.
Yes. And as we're coming up on the waypoint there in a couple miles, just don't forget you're still in selected course mode.
Yeah, absolutely, thanks. I was thinking about 2 miles or something and then going back to auto lag.
Yeah, because of course it'll just fly outbound if you don't tell it what you want to do.
Absolutely. Alright, we're approaching 1,000 to go.
And you're in IAS profile mode.
Checked. Just changed over to VS over here. So that's 1,000 to run. 3 nautical miles inbound, then we're going to do the right-hand turn, so should be easy going. Was a little bit rough reaction here when I changed to VS mode, so the plane just really pitched down a little bit, but talked about that. So over to auto lag, and here we go.
There you go. And yep, and it's sequence. Hey, good timing. Because I'm not the European airline pilot, are we beyond that 190 knot speed restriction? Hopefully.
Yes, we are. That was just the initial turn in order to keep the radius and establish ourselves on the radial 001 from Nurvenich. Okay, wonderful. So it's actually not all that far over to Münster, so I suppose we're just going to monitor the level off over here. And once we're leveled off, I will actually reduce that power a little bit just in order to keep the speed at something decent and not fly along at, 300 knots. Which we're almost doing over here. 280 indicated already. So reaching...
Yeah, it's quite easy to overspeed at the lower altitudes. I mean, what was our takeoff altitude? It was like 5,000 feet?
Yeah, the initial climb was 5,000.
Yeah, when you're in a more flat area of the world, it's very easy if you level off early to overspeed substantially. It's a very powerful airplane.
Absolutely. Okay, so let's just have a quick look at the approach over here. So in Münster, we are looking at 100 degrees, 4 knots, clear skies, 20 degrees, 1019.
Oh, that's a lovely evening, is what I call it.
It is. Just look at it over here. Such a cool looking airplane. Flying along the River Rhine down here. I can see my parents' house. Okay.
I was gonna say we'll fly in the U.S. next time and give you a little tour.
Oh yeah, most certainly. Most certainly.
Look at that beautiful landscape down there.
Absolutely.
Oh, and all the wind turbines.
Oh yeah.
Beautiful part of the world.
It is. And it's a very, very nice place to learn to fly as well. You have some airspace structures from Düsseldorf where we just took off from, but then you also have a lot of countrysides. Now, down here is a little glider airfield that's really beautiful to approach. I learned to fly back there in Dienstlaken, Schwarze Heide.
Oh. And have you flown sailplanes before?
I have.
I think that's a more popular hobby in Germany than it is in the United States.
You can start flying sailplanes at the age of 14 and you can have the license at the age of 16. So it's a really good and also a really cheap way to get into aviation in.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, it is. I think it's roughly the same here. I want to say it's either 15 or 16.
The funny thing is that you guys are allowed to drive cars by that age. We are not.
Yeah, I forget exactly. You can be on a permit, I think, at that age, but I don't know. There's plenty of people I've heard of that learn how to fly a sailplane before they drive.
Absolutely. All right, so we are getting pretty close already. Let's just see how many miles are there.
Yeah, do you want to put in a VNAV in there to give us an idea?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll just figure out the runway. So it's going to be 07, obviously. So let's punch that in. Flight plan, approach, and it's going to be an ILS runway 7 from Hamvior. Alright, and here we go. Now, usually I would just go straight in over here, but for the sake of the video, let's actually fly the procedure, shall we?
Sure, whatever you want to do.
Alright, so, we'll fly the Domec 2 Juliet arrival, followed by the ILS approach runway 07. Yes, over here we actually call it 07. So, frequency 111.75, and that's gonna go active into number 1, and then I'll set, well, Micro Oscar Delta 1405 in number 2, and then HumViewer 1565 into both standbys. Alright, like that, so let's see.
Look at this Airbus level planning going on here.
And look at that, I can even just type the numbers in, just like in my Airbus. That's such a cool feature, honestly. The avionics, I mean, they're 1970s tech, but you can really see the origins of our modern day avionics in here. That's amazing.
So much of this had never been done before, or had never been put in the same place. You know, I mean, when you look at general aviation technology before this, you know, there were navigation systems that integrated a lot of this and gave you waypoints. You know, some of the early low-ran stuff, the KNS 660 would be a good example. But it wasn't an avionics suite. You know, it pulled together a lot of navigation instruments and told you sort of where you were.
Yeah, exactly. Alright, so you told me to insert something in the VNAV page earlier. That was a very good input. So if you just bring that up, I think, well, up here, 15.5 DME from Hum 3000. Then we have a little bit of a level segment to decelerate. So that's going to be the Hum 16 point in 3000. Here we go, 1500 feet to go. Alright, down we go. Let's get a level 100 at first. Descent.
And you know, I'm again, as a U.S. pilot, not used to seeing intersections with numbers in their identifiers. Is that something? Does that mean something specific, or did you guys just run out of letters?
Well, those waypoints are actually all meaning something specific. So you can see from the standard procedure here, out of HumVOR, we're going to fly the radial 312 until 10 DME. So they call it Hum 10.
10 DME. Perfect. Yeah.
Then we have 15.5 next. So that's Hum 16.
Yep. Brilliant. Now, yeah, that's very clever.
There is a different methodology on how they can name these things in Europe as well. And instead of Hum 10, it might be called D312. And then whatever the 10th letter of the alphabet is. So if you find something like D312, well, what is it? A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, J, K. So if you find a D312K waypoint, Delta 312 Kilo, that would also designate 10 DME radial 312 from a station.
Interesting. I think I would bring the power back just a smidge, by the way, to keep us coming down.
Yeah, good point. 1600 feet
but
a minute.
Yeah, that's very interesting. I think the closest thing to that you see pretty often in the United States is computer fix. So you'll see a identifier that starts with CF is, you know, something that's typically not on a chart. You know, they have a special symbol for it, and it's just to denote, you know, yes, this is in your G. No, not on the chart.
Yeah, absolutely. Over here we call them center fix, and they're usually located at 10 miles on the extended center line. So whenever ATC tells you to proceed direct to a 10-mile final, that's usually the point we take over here.
Interesting. Yeah, that might be true over here too. It seems like it from the ones that I know by heart, but I can't swear to it.
All right, so let's continue down along the procedure. So that's going to be 5,000 feet outbound Hum. Let's dial that in. And then set QNH. So 1019, what is that in inches? 3008.
Oh, that's very clever. I didn't even think to do that you could just check.
Yeah, that's a trick I learned on the Airbus, because some of our Airbuses have an ISIS that's only, or a standby instrument, that's only in hectopascals. but we can switch it over on the EFIS control panel, and that way you can look it up. But the Airbus actually has a funny bug. In the Airbus, if you switch over from hectopascals to inches, it's always going to set the number in inches. Or let me phrase that differently. If you fly to the US and you have a standby instrument that's only in hectopascals, you dial in, for example, 3009. But then when you change over to hectopascals to look up what it is for your standby instrument, then you revert back to inches, it might show you something like 3008 if that is the average figure that would apply to that particular unit conversion. So that's quite an interesting thing that the aircraft's doing there. And
well, it's most interesting to me because it's the kind of bug that I would often create and think to myself, oh, you know, I'm nowhere near as perfect as the real airplane.
If there is one thing I learned in aviation, it's that real aircraft are not perfect.
Yes. Yeah, and I often say about people that say that, you know, they wish that I could really recreate the aircraft ownership experience in Flight Simulator, and I tell them, no, you don't want me to do that.
You don't want me to break your airplane every time you step into it?
Yeah, and every time you step away from your desk, you're covered in oil or something, some sort of filth you've picked up from being around the airport.
I'm just really, really happy that we don't have any, you know, speakers that may produce some smells or something. That would probably go seriously wrong. On the other hand side, I would see lots of lovely trolling opportunities. We're gonna keep it at that, huh? Let's do the descent checklist.
I would just love to smell the jet fuel when you start up the engines.
Oh, yes.
All right, you want descent checklist?
Yes, please.
How's the pressurization doing?
So that's down at the destination fuel elevation.
Yeah, we're down. Brake knob as desired. Standby altimeter set. Smoking seatbelt signs as required.
Set.
Power as required.
Set.
And lights as required. That's it.
Alright, landing lights are on already. That's all we've got to do down here. So we got to pass 10 DME hum at or above 5,000. Let's see, 6 miles to run. We're doing 240 knots, that's 4 miles a minute, so we'll be fine.
Yeah, descent rate looks good.
Absolutely. It's lovely how accurate the airplane flies when descent mode is active. That's something that I would have expected to be quite a lot more inaccurate based on my Boeing experience. But then again, sometimes you're really surprised how these smaller aircraft can excel above some things that you would consider, well, the industry standard.
I feel that way about the layout of the instrumentation alone. I think that there's just brilliant design work that went on because they had to figure it all out the first time. You know, they couldn't work off anybody else's example.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, beautiful sunset. Wow.
Really is. It really, really is. Let's just see that from the outside for a second here. Flying across the city of Hamm. I mean, Starship just looks fantastic, doesn't it?
That's always been my favorite airplane for a reason.
I can absolutely understand that. So let's just head back inside. We're approaching 5,000 and we are passing 10 DME. So let's continue our descent down to 3,000. Might just have to pull a little bit more power in order to keep descending here. And let's go to VS.
Oh yeah, it's in hold mode.
Yeah. I'll just do VS 1000 here. That's going to make it a bit smoother.
Well, you were complaining about how aggressive the vertical speed can be earlier, which I told you off the call here is a symptom of the canard aerodynamics in Flight Simulator, because Flight Simulator doesn't really want to do that, and I've had to make some compromises, but I think that's resulted in a really good feeling model. The real issue is that I can't build as complicated as an autopilot as you'd like to, with all sorts of control laws based on dynamic pressures and altitudes. But I'll look into it again before release, see if I can get something that's a little bit better.
Wonderful.
But I was going to say that obviously if you start with the vertical speed synced, and then you adjust the knob yourself. You know, you can make it as smooth as you want. And the same goes for pitch control. You know, if you just put it in pitch mode, and then you can use that little knob that's down by your leg on the pedestal, and you can just fine-tune the pitch all you want.
Yeah, absolutely. Alright, we're passing 15.5 DME, turning towards the final. And I tell you what, I actually want to take this one over manually, because it's just so much fun to fly, isn't it?
Fun.
Okay, so let's see. The ILS frequency is active, 11175. Just not receiving. Or actually, I know why that is. Here we go, that's better.
There you go.
You have to remember that final approach course?
No, I don't have it up. I'm sorry.
Right, if you could do that real quick, that would be appreciated.
Might not be able to do it as quick as you'd like, but I'll give it a shot. Oh no! SkyVector doesn't have European charts. I'm sorry.
Okay, no worries. I got it up here, 070.
Yeah, 070. I just found it. Sorry.
No worries. Alright, here we go. That's set. Let's go into the overview. Of course I overshot the final while that's happened, but hey.
That's blame that one on me.
We'll blame it on general aviation. Alright, so here's the glide slope. We're down at 180. That looks quite okay.
What a realistic sight picture too. That looks great.
Absolutely. Graphics in the simulator are so fantastic. Don't put them in a beta. So here we go, runway heading is set. So go around altitude.
Looks good, yeah. And you're
5,000.
very good. Right on the glide slope.
That's it. We'll catch the localizer momentarily here.
And we're about 6 miles out. Yeah, yeah, you're not too bad. I was going to say slow it down just a smidge, but
yeah,
not too bad. I'm always just, I err on the cautious side because Starship can be hard to slow down because it's got such an efficient canard airframe.
Yeah, you got the experience over here. I mean, I'm in flight idle at the moment, so this is really all we're going to get. So let's go.
Yeah, well, that's where it's important to get that gear and the flaps coming out to help you slow down.
Mm-hmm.
And the gear helps you a lot more than the flaps because it's got that really big, tall gear and it's got very little flap.
Mm-hmm. Alright, but we can go for the flaps right now. So, what's the right command here? Extend the wings?
Yeah, I know, it sounds almost like some sort of 2001 A Space Odyssey level of...
I suppose they call it the Starship 2000 for a reason, don't they?
Yeah. You want that before landing check?
Yes, please.
All right. Approach speed, yep, 120 looks good. Pressurization, I believe, was already good, leveled out.
Yeah.
No smoking and seatbelt signs are on.
Checked.
Good. Forward wing, extend. That's the right term.
That's extend.
Lights as required.
And the lights are on.
Autopilot is disconnected. Propeller sync off.
That's off.
And we got the radar, never turned it on. And the yaw damper off.
Alright, and the yaw damper is off.
Great. Alright, bring it on home.
Alright. So let's ensure we meet that 500-foot gate. It's VMC after all. Just look at how lovely the airplane flies. I've been pretty distracted on this approach, going through the checklist right here, but honestly, if I had to do that on my own, I might have messed it up, but with Nick's help, that's just really where the multi-cockpit shines. Multi-crew cockpit, that way around. Alright. So, 500 stabilized. 500 continue, that was the call we used at my previous operator. You know, it was a good idea to force the first officer to speak up. If the FO said continue while you were unstable, now it's on him, and not just the captain's responsibility anymore. Alright, minimums, continue. I'll stay on the glide, disregarding the puppies. So idle, probably with forward. And just gotta flare it out. The end of the touchdown zone is coming over there, so here we go.
Not bad. You really nailed it last time, but that was a good, nice assertive landing.
Yeah, I mean, the end of the touchdown zone was coming, so what options did I have?
Well, we said earlier, it's like you don't always need to have the smoothest landing in the world. It's more important to land where you want to than to really get that butter, as they say.
Absolutely. And the thing is, you know, if you drag it out and make it that buttery, then yeah, the internet is going to complain about you as well. So whatever you do, you're not going to do that. You're not going to be doing that right.
The terminology appears to be generational, though, because at least for me, I always heard that was to grease a landing and not to butter it. And then suddenly everybody was saying butter.
Oh, yeah. Well, honestly, when I'm thinking of butter, I'm usually thinking about, you know, something slippery maybe, but definitely not landing an airplane. Well, perhaps we can talk about eggs. You know, when they do those spot landing competitions in the aero clubs, and they make you land on an egg.
Yeah, that's always very impressive. I don't think anybody's probably ever done that with a Starship before, though.
At least I hope so.
Maybe at Oshkosh next year.
Oh, yeah. All right.
Yeah, I was going to say when we were on the approach, I didn't want to distract you anymore, but that's why I like that blue glare shield lighting, because, you know, when we're coming in like this time of night, you know, you got the horizon is kind of blue, but it's not an intense light. And I like that it kind of balances the panel and the outside, so your eyes don't have to really adjust when you're looking down versus looking up. You know, it's like you kind of have this consistent, soft blue glow throughout your whole vision.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so shall we just chime in the off-landing checklist here?
Yes. It's on the next page. Yep, stall warning and pitot heat's off.
Off.
Windshield heat as required.
Off.
Vent and cable heat off.
Off.
Engine auto ignition is off.
Check.
Transponder standby.
Standby.
And lights as required.
Set.
Trim reset.
Reset.
And retract the forward wing.
Now that just looks so incredibly cool here every time we do it. Let's look at it again.
It's a lot of fun.
It is. I mean, it's
I
one
love
of
the
those
sound
things.
too. Oh, I meant to tell you about the headphone isolation if you wanted to use it, by the way.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yes, it's just you click the pilot's headphone jacks, and then from there you can adjust the. They're underneath the test panel.
Okay.
It's behind the Yoke.
Oh, that's lovely.
And you can scroll on the cables there to adjust the level of active noise canceling.
Okay, that is awesome.
Yeah, just like as if you have, you know, your Bose A10s or A20s. I'm a Dave Clark guy, so I'm sorry, I don't know the Bose numbers.
Yeah, we're at the
It probably just
A30
made
now.
some people upset. Oh yeah?
Yeah, but I tell you honestly, I wanted to get an A20 when I started in general aviation, and they were sold out. So I bought a different
it was
one.
very inexpensive back then too.
Absolutely, and it still is today. We have A20s on the Airbuses now, and I mean, they do a noise cancelling that is just awesome. You put them on, you don't hear anything anymore in the Airbus. Perfect for taking a nap. Alright, so let's set the parking brake, and then you can give me the parking checklist, please.
Parking brake is set. Oxygen supply, push off.
Pushed off.
Icing protection, all off.
That's all off.
Windshield heat off.
Off.
And now just the pilot and co-pilot avionics off.
Pilot and co-pilot
Great.
avionic off.
Standby instruments off.
Off.
Bleed air off.
Off.
Temp mode off.
Off.
Check the battery is charged. Good.
Looking good.
ITT stabilized for 1 minute.
We have that.
Yep, looks good. So now we can move the condition levers to cutoff and feather the props.
So condition lever cutoff and feather.
Check ITT that everything is actually shut down. Yep,
Yeah.
looks good. It's going to hold that residual heat. That's to be expected. Props feathered,
Absolutely.
ITT. Overhead panel switches all off.
All off.
And once the engine is shut down, I usually wait, for the generators to trip off and we just get all the messages.
Yeah.
And the prop slows down. And then we can turn off the ICAS.
All right. ICAS off.
And then the master switch bar down.
And here we go. All
and
right.
Install the control locks and we're good to go.
Control locks are in place, and then of course let's go ahead and open that door up. Just look at the lovely lights down here when we're operating the door. The cabin light controls are down here, aren't they?
Yes, exactly. Yeah, you can turn those all on and off. It even has one in the cockpit, which is kind of nice.
Lovely.
It just overrides that spotlight on the top, and it has lights underneath the panel, which is kind of neat, like for your toes. I'm not exactly sure what you're supposed to be looking at down there, but it has 2 lights underneath the panel.
Well, I guess if you drop your pen or something the like, that could actually be rather useful. I remember in the 737, and the 737 cockpit is open behind the paddles, and I actually dropped an apple. I was searching for it, and then I kicked it into the avionics bay. Well,
oh
no! Let's just say the airplane was meant to go into maintenance anyway after that flight because it was the last flight of the day.
Well, it's just funny you said drop your pen, because at least in the U.S. that's kind of the, before the student goes for his first check ride, you tell him, if the instructor drops his pen underneath your rudder pedals, don't go get it on short final. Tell him, I'm very sorry, but I'll get your pen in a minute.
Oh, yes. All
Brilliant.
right.
What fun.
And here we are. What a beautiful airplane you produced, really. I mean,
well, thank
Starship
you so much.
Looks absolutely wonderful. It flies wonderful, and the systems, I mean, anyone who's had one of your previous aircraft knows what to expect, but the fact that you finally created a glass cockpit, and one that is this beautiful, is just absolutely fantastic. It's a superb airplane to fly, so thank you so much for creating this, Nick.
Well, and thank you for showing it off and doing it justice as a real pilot as well. I love seeing people just having fun with my airplanes, especially something as unique as Starship, and enjoying that canard stability. But in reality, my airplanes are built for people that love to master an airframe and fly it just like real life.
And I think that's exactly what we did today, so this was probably the best way for us to show this off. And I really have to say it was a little bit different from the typical first flight videos that I would do on this channel, but I think we absolutely need to do this again. And to be completely fair, I think it's not going to be that long until we have a video that might be about 1 hour and 52 minutes long. So be prepared for that, guys. I can tell you that much. It's really been a lot of fun creating these. And with that, what can I say? Starship is going to be there pretty soon for you guys. And with that out of the way, thank you so much to you, Nick, for giving me the opportunity to show this off. Of course, also for giving me the review copy of Starship. And with that out of the way, thank you very much for being here today.
And thank you.
Well, guys, and that's going to be it for today's video. I hope you liked it as well. Leave your feedback in the comments underneath, as that is the only way how these aircraft can improve and how you can ultimately get what you desire the most for your simulator. For the time being though, thank you very much for watching. As always, be sure to like, comment and subscribe, and if you really love what I'm doing on this channel, I would appreciate a small donation through the Buy Me Coffee link in the video description below. Thank you for watching, and I'm looking forward to see you all again on the next one.